Hey everyone, getting an education is very costly, and funding your education during this process is probably the most difficult part, especially for international students who want to study abroad. Today's video is incredibly special because I'm going to share 4 main factors that are affecting scholarship decisions or admissions at the universities, and I'm going to share the strategies I used while I was getting more than 200k scholarships from the US government, European Commission, and my university in the US, even with a low GPA. So if you've ever wondered the journey to get an admission from a university or get a prestigious scholarship and the things that you need to be careful before making such a big decision in the process, this video is for you. But before we move on to the video, if you don't know me, my name is Ali. I'm a final year Fulbright PhD candidate in learning sciences, and I do research in virtual reality. In this channel, I share videos about learning, technology, and productivity, and I also share some vlogs about my PhD journey until I graduate. This video is going to be in 3 chapters. First, I'm going to tell you about my story and how I decided to get the scholarship and I have applied. And then I'm going to talk about 4 main factors that are affecting scholarship decisions based on my previous experiences. And the third, I will be talking about the strategies I used while applying to these scholarships, and this is going to be involved in this 3rd chapter. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning, why I ended up having a low GPA in college and how I ended up getting scholarships from the US government and the European Commission. In high school, I wanted to be a simultaneous translator because I was looking at all these people going to important meetings and being very professional, and I thought that it was really cool. But after the university exam, I decided to go to a college where I can study English language to become a second language teacher. However, not very long after, I realized that it was not for me, and I was trying to find some out-of-school projects like translation. I was trying to make some extra money, but there was a problem that these people were trying to kind of abuse all students, and they were paying ridiculous amounts of money when they send a translation project to you. So I decided to open my own translation company with 2 other friends. Actually, it was actually going very well. We started to get some clients, and then we were making money. I've had money that I've never had before because of these projects while we were translating. At the same time, during that process, I applied to this scholarship from the European Commission to go to Europe and spend a year to teach somewhere in one of these European countries. When I applied, I didn't know actually which country. And then I learned that I received this scholarship. I was awarded with this scholarship. I think that was the last year of college. So from that point on, I was like, okay, I don't care. I'm not going to be a teacher. I'm not going to go to Europe. I'm going to spend 1 year there, and then I have my company. I'm making money so that I don't need to care about my GPA at all. Probably that was not a good decision because I ended up realizing that there was still, even if you don't want to be a teacher, your GPA can still affect you in a lot of ways. But I don't think I regret, because it was a great experience for me. I was learning a lot of life skills, and I was doing really cool projects while my friends are just going to school and try to think about the final exam. So I don't regret about that, but that is the story of how I ended up having a low GPA. After I graduated, I went to England and I lived in Liverpool for a year. During that process, things didn't go as planned. Of course, my 2 partner friends, they were back in Turkey, and then they started working in the Ministry of Education as teachers, and they were doing other stuff. And then we started to lose communication, and we actually couldn't continue to the translation business and we had to stop that. And when I came back from England, I went to a small town in the eastern border of Turkey to teach. Right after that, I realized that it was not for me, and I started to look for other options. At that time, I was trying to find something that is going to make me happy and challenge me, because teaching in an elementary school was not that really hard for me, and it was not very rewarding for me. So I was looking for options to go to the university, maybe doing a master's, having an academic career. I applied to this program and I was admitted, and I was going back and forth to this city. It was very far away, like 2 hours of flight every week, while I was still teaching full-time at this small town on top of the mountains. And in 2016, I managed to start working at this university, and I was doing my master's. For some background information, in Turkey, working at a university, even though you're a graduate assistant, similar to working for the government, and then you have a lot of benefits. What I'm trying to say is it was actually paying good, but still I wanted to do something different because I was interested in technology and I always wanted to do some interesting stuff. I was going to these technology events that Microsoft or Apple or Google was organizing. I was always dreaming about going and working at these companies. I remember one day one of my colleagues, another friend from the department, she said that she was applying for Fulbright and then she's going to try to go to the US and study and do her PhD there. Back then I didn't know exactly what was this scholarship about, and then I did some research and I realized that actually it was very difficult for me to get. First of all, I didn't have enough GPA, because when you apply to these prestigious scholarships, they're looking for at least 3.0 GPA, and I had lower than that. So I was like, okay, it looks like I'm not going to be able to do it. Close to finishing master's, I realized that I could apply to a PhD program, and my master's GPA was actually higher than my undergraduate GPA. And that kind of helped me get this scholarship. Okay, this was my background story, but let's move on to these strategies that you can use and what kind of things are actually affecting scholarship decisions or admissions at the universities. Let's say that you decided you want to apply for a US university or a European university anywhere, or you want to apply for scholarships like Fulbright. What you need to do and what are the things that you need to be careful about. There are actually 4 main categories that are going to be affecting your chances to get the scholarship or be admitted to the grad school in the university based on my previous experiences. I've listed these 4 categories based on my previous experiences and these scholarships I received. But if you find something different and if you believe there is something that I'm missing, please share that in the comments. So what are these 4 factors? The first one is obviously your GPA. The second one is your application package. Within this application package, there are different things like your essays, like personal interest, research statement, also the exam scores like GRE, TOEFL, GMAT, or if there's a specific exam that the department you're applying is requiring, you need to include these things. The third one is the communication and persuasion skills. And the fourth one is going to be networking. If you have a low GPA, probably you're going to have to take a different strategy, but we're going to get to that. Let's start with the first one. So the first one is obviously your GPA. Although a lot of people say that your GPA is not that important, still it is going to be the most effective factor in your admission, because there are a lot of people applying to these scholarships or grad school admissions, and they need to find a way to eliminate some of these people applying to the school. So they use GPA because it's very standard for the universities, and it's easier for universities to be able to eliminate people in this process. So GPA is still important. You need to make sure that you're meeting the minimum requirement for the GPA. Big universities are usually requiring at least 3.0 GPA. Some universities in the Ivy League may require more than that, like 3.5, but this is a range between 2.5 and 3.5, but it's really difficult to find 2.5. If you don't meet the minimum criteria, of course, you're not going to be able to apply, and the other categories doesn't even matter. But don't close the video yet. If you have a low GPA, I have a suggestion for you, and you're going to be able to apply and maybe make your dreams come true. Okay, let's say that you have the minimum criteria. Let's say the minimum criteria is 3.0 GPA, and then you decided that you wanted to apply. Again, like I told you, this range can be different from the university to university, and this range usually changes from 2.5 to 3.5 depending on the university's reputation or the amount of people applying to these scholarships. Let's say that you meet the minimum criteria for 3.0, but this is not still going to be enough, because there are going to be a lot of people applying to these scholarships with higher GPA than you are. For example, according to 2023 data, the average GPA score for students who received admission to UCLA was 3.6. So even if you have the minimum GPA criteria met, you still have a big gap to close. In this case, you would have 2 options. First thing you can do is to Google the average GPA scores for the admissions of these universities, and then you can make a list, and then you can choose the most realistic one for you based on your GPA score. Another strategy would be, let's say that you really want to go to UCLA or a prestigious university and you think that your GPA is not going to be enough, then you need to focus on the other components of this process to be able to increase your chances and close the gap that you have based on your GPA. Okay, let's say that you don't meet the minimum criteria for the application of 3.0 GPA. What are you going to do? So in this case, you have another option. If you're not eligible for applying to the university or the scholarship, you need to make yourself eligible for this scholarship. What do I mean by that? For example, back in 2013, when I went to England, I really liked being there and I was enjoying my time. And then I decided that I didn't want to go back to teach in the town on top of the mountains in Turkey, right? So I was looking for different options. I went to a language certification course at the University of Cambridge. I paid a lot of money to that. But then after that, I realized that it was actually opening doors for English speakers, native English speakers like British people, more than international students, because these language schools all over the world were expecting native speakers of English to go there and teach. So that kind of didn't work. And then I started to look for different options. Like I was looking for scholarships like Fulbright or some master's program, but they all required me to have at least 3.0 GPA. So that was not going to work. And at that point, I realized something. When you apply to a master's program or a scholarship for a master's program, they are looking at your undergrad GPA. But if you're applying to a PhD program, they would look at your master's GPA. So I had kind of an opening door for me. It was like, okay, I'm gonna go do my master's wherever I can, and then I'm gonna try to apply to a scholarship or a university admission in the US. I must say there is not a magic wand that is going to increase your GPA from undergrad. You just need to find a workaround that is going to make you eligible for pursuing your dream or whatever you want to do, right? So this is one suggestion from me. If you want to get these scholarships, and if you don't meet the minimum criteria, especially after undergrad, try to start a master's program. And then after the master's program, you can be eligible for applying to a higher level degree that is going to make you eligible after finishing that. But of course, this is only the first step. After being eligible to this application process, you still need to compete with other people and get the admission from the university, or you need to get the scholarship from the scholarship committee. Okay, let's say either you had the minimum criteria, minimum GPA for the application right after undergrad, or if you took my suggestion and you went to master's program and you became eligible to apply to these scholarships or the admissions, then you need to think about the second process, which is probably the most difficult part in my experience, is your application package. You need to have a really strong application package, which involves your essays, again, your personal interest, research statement, also your exam scores like GRE and TOEFL maybe. When it comes to these exams like GRE or GMAT or TOEFL, I actually don't feel like these are actually assessing what they're supposed to be measuring. The other day in class when I was teaching something about assessments, we were talking about how IQ tests are actually really biased and not measuring what they're supposed to be measuring because they were not normed in a way that was involving and generalizable to everyone. I feel like these exams are similar to that. Also, a lot of universities are increasingly not requiring GRE scores for their admission, but the top level universities, Ivy League universities, are still going to require that. So you need to get these scores. You need to have high scores from these exams to be able to get the admissions or be eligible for these scholarships. For the scholarship, you may not be required to get a GRE or TOEFL. Depending on the nature of the scholarship, it's going to change. Of course, you need to look at the details. Also, the details of GRE or TOEFL is not a concern of this video, but if you really want to learn more about the GRE or GMAT or TOEFL, let me know in the comments and we can have another video about this. Another component of your application package is your personal statement and research interest. Depending on the nature of the scholarship or the level of grad degree you're applying, you may or may not need a research interest. This process might change. For example, a lot of universities for PhD applications, they require research interest, while master programs may not require research interest essay. But again, it depends on the university. The fact that you have this research interest is related to the nature of the PhD program, because they're expecting you to have some research experience and have some idea about what you want to do in your PhD program. Also, you're applying to a more specialized degree and you're going to be working with your academic advisor more closely than you were doing in your master's degree probably. So hang in there. Let me tell you the most important tip of all these 4 components for you to be able to get admissions or really good scholarships here. So I believe the most important thing to get a scholarship or an admission to university for grad school is to have a really good story and your storytelling capabilities in the application essay. That's right, especially if you have a low GPA and then you're competing with other people who have higher GPA than you are, you need to convince these people that you are visionary, you are capable, and that you're passionate about getting this scholarship or the admission. One thing I need to tell you is that you should never make it sound like your GPA was because of your incapabilities or you feel like you're sorry for that. You need to make it sound in a way that it was a part of your plan. You need to give them a strong reason why your GPA doesn't reflect your capabilities and it's not going to predict your future performance if you receive the scholarship or the admission. Let's think about my example. The way that I told you my story was like, I actually decided to take a different approach. I was trying to start a business. I was trying to improve my life skills and improving my complex problem solving skills by doing these things. And similarly, that was actually improving my capabilities in life. And this experience actually helped me grow better, take more responsibilities, and to be able to solve more complex problems in real life. I know it may sound like this is not really important and the scholarship decisions are not going to be based on if you were trying to create a business or you were trying to improve your life skills. But believe me, it matters. A lot of research committees look at you as a whole person and then they're looking for these soft skills. If you got into a PhD program, you're going to realize that it is most of the part not about academic skills at all, but it's more about navigating the uncertainties, handling the conflicting situations, having professional communication skills, and such kind of soft skills that you need to have to be able to navigate and to be able to stay strong while you're having these conflicting situations. So what you need to do here is to create a story that is showing them how your actions actually help you grow better and become a better person, and how these skills are actually going to help you to be successful in the future when you receive this scholarship or the admission. Okay, the third component that might be affecting your scholarship or admission is communication and persuasion skills. This one actually starts with your written essays where you're actually telling a written story of your background, and you're still actually communicating and trying to persuade the other people about giving you the scholarship or getting you admitted to the school that you really want to. In addition to that, let's say that you were able to pass the written part in the pre-selection process, and then you're going to move on to the in-person interviews, then you're going to require more in-person persuasion skills or communication skills. When I say persuasion, it may sound like negative or tricking or trying to make people what you want, but it's not supposed to be negative, because persuasion is all over, because persuasion is everywhere. We do persuasion every time when we're trying to decide what to eat with our partner or with a friend. We're trying to convince them, persuade them, or even the learning experiences. Think about that as teachers. When we are trying to teach something to our students, we are trying to persuade them about the content that we're trying to explain them. So to be able to internalize something, you need to be persuaded, and this is going to help you internalize and try to remember that or learn it better. Persuasion is not bad. Persuasion is not tricking people, but making your argument stronger so that the person is naturally going to give you what you want. In order to achieve this with your storytelling or your essay, you can actually convince or persuade the person who's reading your article, who's reading your application package. But let's say that you pass this stage and then you're going to an in-person interview. This is going to be a little bit more different. In this process, when you go to an in-person interview, first of all, you need to look professional and you need to show people that you are committed to what you want to do. So they're going to give you a lot of money and they're going to deal with your problems for a long time. And they are probably doing this for a mission with a goal in mind. So you need to look at these things to be able to persuade these people. So let's say that you are looking professional and then you are prepared for the things that you want to talk about. First of all, you need to be really prepared for your talking about your background, what you want to do in the future, or you need to be really knowledgeable about the schools or the scholarship that you're applying. So let's say that you're applying for Fulbright. You need to know what Fulbright is, what is the mission of Fulbright, or what are you going to be expected during or after the process of taking the scholarship. Another thing I can suggest you, these people are going to ask you some tricky questions to make you feel psychologically anxious and put you in a difficult situation so that you answer in a different way. Just decide what you're going to say in terms of your research. Think about your reasons to apply for the scholarship or this admission and stick to that. Even though you get something like a question that you understand that it is tricky, just give them authentic and real answers, and otherwise they're going to understand that you're trying to play with them. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. Just be yourself and be prepared, and try to communicate your reasons and what you want to do, why you're passionate about that, and why they need to give the scholarship to you, and what you're going to be able to do with it after the graduation. Well, at that point, speaking of the GPA in an in-person interview, I have not seen that before, but someone might ask you about your low GPA if you're applying directly after undergraduate, or even if it's not after undergraduate school. Some people might ask you about your low GPA. Again, you need to remember about the storytelling aspect that I just mentioned, and you need to tell the story, a strong story about your background and why it happened, and why you think it doesn't reflect your capabilities or your future performance, and why you are really committed to what you want to do in the future. And if they give you the scholarship, what are you going to be able to do with it? Okay, let's talk about the last one, which is networking. Networking is more related to getting scholarships directly from the university or the lab or the professor that you're going to be working with, instead of scholarships like Fulbright, because when you apply to Fulbright, they're only looking at your application packet, and they're not going to have a process where you're going to be directly talking to anybody before the application process, because you don't know who are in the committee. So networking may not be a tool for you in this process, but if you're applying directly to the university and trying to get scholarship from the university or the professor, this is going to be really useful for you. I actually realized the importance of this after getting the Fulbright scholarship, and I was awarded with Fulbright, and they were like, okay, now go get your admission and we're gonna give you the money. So that process took like a year, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any information about the US education system, or I didn't know any professor in the US. So I was looking at other students that were in the same cohort with me in the Fulbright, and they already had a lot of connections. Some of them already even secured some extra funding, and they were communicating with professors. And then I was like, okay, what should they do? And I was trying to send some emails to the departments, but if they don't know you, and then there are thousands of other people sending emails and trying to get in contact, it's going to be really difficult for you to get yourself familiar with the people who are looking your admission or the professor that is going to work with you, especially for PhD. Since you're going to be working with the professor closely, this process is really important. If you could manage to get a response from the professor when you email, that's a good sign. It means that you're going to have a chance. When these people are looking at your applications, there are going to be thousands of other people, and if they don't know your name, if they don't know who you are, it is going to be naturally easier for them to look at the people who they are familiar with. I'm not saying that they're not being fair or anything. It's just human nature that if you're familiar with something, you're naturally be inclined towards choosing that or having positive feelings about this person if you're familiar with that. So what I would suggest you is, even if you're in school and you're still getting there, try to connect. We're in social media age. There's LinkedIn, there's a lot of other social media a lot of professionals use. So email these professors, try to be involved in events, maybe online events, talk to these people. And on Twitter, actually, a lot of professors, when they have an opening for someone in their lab, they actually announce that in their account. So such kind of things, be active, be involved, and try to get yourself there. After your application is sent them, if they know you already, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get ahead. And even though you'll have low GPA, they're going to be looking at your application, and if they believe that you are capable and you're a strong candidate, they're going to give you this scholarship. While we are getting closer to the end of this video, why go through all this effort to apply for a scholarship? Well, the answer is prestigious scholarships like Fulbright is not about just financial support. It's all about the doors that are opening to you after getting the scholarship. It's about the transformative experiences that you do. It's about being a part of a global network. It's about the impact that you can create after being a part of this community. Okay, wrapping up, I want to encourage you, everyone watching this video, to apply for a prestigious scholarship like Fulbright, or apply to a university you really want and you wanted to be a part of after watching this video. And I assure you that it's going to be challenging, but it's going to be really rewarding at the end. Applying to these scholarships and the universities to study abroad or go to another country that you don't know might be daunting, but I assure you that with perseverance, hard work, and strong guidance, it is not impossible, it is achievable. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to hit that like button. Also consider subscribing if you want to see similar content from my channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Until the next time, if you want to achieve your dreams, you need to take action.